most, right, is Birdman. Yeah, I'm a dude to keep it 100. Ain't nobody bigger than the politics. That's my brother, and we get on each other. But Birdman, out of everybody.
Everybody seems locked in on Wack 100 right now. 50 Cent already blasted him for allegedly snitching on BigU. A move people say tied straight into BigU's indictment. And the whispers go even further, with rumors claiming Wack might be wired up, setting traps for rappers. But let's keep it real. These ain't my claims. I'm just breaking down what the streets keep buzzing about, so don't shoot the messenger. And the crazy part? It all kicks off with one phone call. A call Wack himself admitted making, and he said it was no ordinary call. It was critical. Not to BigU, it was BigU's wife who Wack warned about the federal indictment that was about to drop. Wack sounded like he had the exact timing nailed down, like he knew when the feds would move in. Hold up, who outside the system has that level of detail about a sealed federal operation? This ain't regular gossip. And think on this. What kind of person drops a warning like that unless they're plugged in from the inside? That's when 50 reportedly started connecting dots, and the whole Wack was wired whisper stopped sounding like random internet noise and starts sounding like something serious we gotta respect. But here's the twist. Long before 50 even stepped in, Suge Knight had already tried to sound the alarm. Suge reportedly warned Birdman to keep his eyes on Wack 100, because according to him, Wack was the one sitting on the Fed's payroll. That warning hits way harder when you remember Suge actually knew Wack from years deep in the game. And then boom, the whole BigU situation exploded. A 43-count indictment came crashing down like a sledgehammer. RICO charges, extortion, wire fraud, and a stack of heavy crimes that could bury anybody. The feds also tied BigU to a 2021 case involving the passing of young musician R.W. But here's the catch. That detail never showed up in the full 75-page indictment. Word on the street is Nevada is handling that part separately. But what really shook people? The feds were actually pulling Wack 100's own Clubhouse rants and podcast clips, using his words as evidence in the case. And here's the craziest part. Wack didn't even deny it. He laughed. That's not the reaction you expect when your name is being dragged through a federal case. That's the type of laugh that makes people wonder what's really going on. This ain't the first time folks have been side-eyeing Wack 100 as a possible rat. Let's spin it back to 2006. Wack and his brother got pulled over in Texas, and cops found a loaded burner plus more sitting in the car. Both men were convicted felons, so this should have been an open and shut federal case. But here's the shocker. 5 years later, in 2011, the case just vanished. Not because of bad evidence, not because of a bad search. The motion to suppress was denied. Instead, the whole thing got tossed out under something called the interest of justice. And if you know courtroom talk, that phrase usually means one thing: cooperation. That's when people started looking real funny at Wack. And right after that, his access suddenly blew wide open. He was popping up everywhere. Wack started managing big names, dropping so-called exclusive info, and talking like he had eyes and ears in every room. Meanwhile, people around him kept catching charges. But the funny moves didn't stop there. Word is, Wack himself got caught on a federal wiretap, a recorded call with a dude named Stutterbox, who's allegedly tied to a bigger case connected to the Main Street Mafia Crips. And what was Wack doing on that call? According to sources who claim to know the paperwork, he wasn't just running his mouth, he was connecting dots. Some are even suggesting he might have been the one helping the feds piece the puzzle together. And this ain't the first time whispers like this swirled around Wack. Back when he and Birdman were locked in, they even ran Cash Money West together. But things flipped when Wack started managing Tekashi 6ix9ine. For a man already accused of federal ties, linking up with 6ix9ine was straight career suicide in the streets. In an interview, Wack even admitted Birdman pressed him about that whole situation. Birdman didn't blast it publicly, but people peeped how he started moving different, keeping Wack at a distance, and that spoke louder than words. But here's where it circles back to 50 Cent. Wack manages the game, and everybody knows the history between 50 and Game has always been drenched in tension. Beef was pure chaos. And instead of letting it die down, Wack kept throwing gas on it. He hit platforms talking slick, straight up calling 50 out, saying wild stuff like 50 ain't really from the streets anymore and that he's only protected by the industry. He even claimed 50 gotta check in whenever he touches LA. Basically, Wack was suggesting that without clearance, 50 wouldn't even be safe moving through the West. And here's the kicker. Wack wasn't just talking reckless for clout. He brought up an actual incident saying him and his crew pulled up heavy to the SLS hotel, ready to press 50 directly. But when they pulled up, Wack claimed it looked like a full-on military mission. He said 50's security was so deep, it felt like Navy SEALs strapped with machine guns. That image alone had folks online clowning Wack. Like, why would you even admit that? Then the Big Meech and BMF talk came storming back, and Wack had more heat to drop. He went off on 50's whole portrayal of BMF in the media, accusing him of squeezing every drop out of their name, like 50's been milking the entire story just to line his pockets. But here's where things turn real strange. While Wack's been everywhere tossing jabs left and right, 50 has stayed completely silent. No slick IG captions, no power-style memes, no trolling at all. And for a man who built his brand off internet smoke, that silence was loud. That's when the whispers flipped into serious talk. According to sources close to the situation, 50's silence ain't just strategy. It might be survival. Word is, he believes Wack is sitting way too close to federal heat, and just maybe, Wack's trying to bait him into a mess that could flip legal real quick. And just as the internet started buying into that theory, the BigU indictment dropped. And suddenly, all the puzzle pieces looked like they lined up. A massive federal RICO case with 43 counts naming 18 members of the Rollins 60s. But guess who wasn't on that list? Wack. And here's the part that made everybody start side-eyeing. His voice was reportedly all over the supporting paperwork. That don't add up. If you're deep in the conversations but not listed in the indictment, the questions practically write themselves. And right when the heat started rising, Wack threw in another bombshell that kept the streets buzzing even louder. Wack claimed Adam22, founder of No Jumper, got swept up in the RICO mess too. Remember, Wack's a regular on that platform, so this one hit close. He even called into the show himself, saying he had just gotten off the phone with his lawyer, trying to rush him down there quick, like he didn't want Adam doing any unnecessary talking. According to Wack, the feds came and scooped Adam up that very morning, then circled back again later. But then, Wack added another twist. He admitted he didn't even know exactly what the feds were pressing Adam about, only that they were on him heavy. Just when it looked like things were spiraling, Adam22 stepped in and shut it down, flat out saying he was never arrested. He even threw some shade, calling Wack's imagination overactive, and made it crystal clear he's not under investigation and not in any trouble, at least for now. But then Adam dropped something even more interesting. He admitted the feds really did show up at his spot and spoke directly with his lawyer. According to him, they weren't digging for random dirt. They were laser-focused on one thing. A cease and desist letter BigU sent about a year back. Yeah, the one demanding they take down a podcast episode where Loose Cannon supposedly claimed BigU had prior knowledge of what was going to happen to Nipsey before it went down. Adam pointed out that the letter isn't mentioned anywhere in the original indictment or criminal complaint, and that's what makes it look real suspicious to him. It left Adam questioning what exactly the feds are really digging for when it comes to BigU.
You hit up Big U's wife. You said, "Sis, 911. 1 sec, let me get Solo." And you gave him a heads up in caps, all caps. He needs to leave.
I said so bad, right?
Yeah, so bad.
What the 600 said is 4 rolling 60 telling on it.
All right, so Wack, let me ask you.
Oh, so that's what the 4.
And just like that, the spotlight swung right back onto Wack 100, since he was the one who tried dragging Adam into this storm from the jump. But here's the catch. Wack himself ain't on that indictment either. Still, he seems to know way too much. And that's when the internet turned heavy on him. Folks started roasting him with the nickname Rat100, and the comments were ruthless. One user said, "Wack is a terrific informant, man of many talents, snitching being one of them." Another chimed in, "I never saw a so-called G that knows this much about the feds." And that wasn't just trolling. It was years of suspicion boiling over. Because let's be real. It's strange that somebody with no badge can drop exact federal details, right down to who's talking and when. So what's your take? Are all these allegations against Wack 100 just noise, or is there really something to it? And just when people thought it couldn't get messier, Wack started moving like he wanted all the smoke. Instead of laying low, he doubled down, hitting clubhouse rooms night after night, tossing names around like confetti. Every time his mic turned on, somebody's reputation got dragged, and the streets started wondering, is this reckless bravado, or is he dropping pieces of intel straight from a playbook? Meanwhile, rappers who used to rock with him quietly fell back, keeping distance like they didn't want to get caught in the splash zone. Even dudes who once vouched for Wack started sidestepping interviews, not trying to defend him anymore. That silence from his own circle spoke volumes, because when your allies don't ride for you, it usually means they're questioning you too. But here's the wildest part. Wack doesn't seem scared at all. Instead of denying, he laughs, even dares people to prove it when they call him a rat. He acts like every headline makes him bigger, every rumor keeps him trending, and honestly, it kind of does. He's turned controversy into his brand, and the more people accuse him, the louder he gets. Some say this is his survival tactic. Stay so loud, so public, that nobody can actually catch him slipping behind closed doors. But others believe he's playing a dangerous game, one that ends with either a courtroom, a cell, or worse. Because at the end of the day, when feds, rappers, and even your own peers all got your name in their mouth, it means the block is watching close. And now, the big question. If Wack 100 really is that connected, what does this mean for the rap game as a whole? Think about it. One man who's allegedly tied to federal heat, managing artists, beefing with legends, and stirring drama in every direction. That's not just gossip. That's influence with real consequences. Some rappers are already whispering about cutting ties completely, not wanting their names anywhere near Wack's. Others are gambling, thinking the exposure and headlines are worth the risk. But history tells us whenever feds circle too close, entire empires can collapse overnight. If Wack is truly sitting at the center of this storm, the fallout won't just hit him, it could shake the whole industry. So now the streets are asking, is Wack untouchable, or just walking straight into a setup he can't dodge? So what's your take on all this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're checking every single one. And if you're rocking with these raw street stories and unfiltered breakdowns, smash that like, hit subscribe to the Gossip channel, and keep it locked in. Don't miss the next wild video. Click on one right here and dive deeper into the chaos.